Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Deep Dive. So glad to have you with us again.
Thanks for having me.
For those tuning in for the first time, get ready to dive deep, literally. We take your sources, articles, research, anything you send our way, and we try to pull out the most interesting and insightful nuggets of knowledge. Consider it your shortcut to becoming well-informed, without the headache of information overload. So if you enjoy these deep dives with us, hit that subscribe button, share the knowledge.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today's deep dive is particularly relevant to, really everyone, no matter your background. We're tackling inflation, that sneaky force that quietly chips away at your hard-earned money. And we're going to be using an excerpt titled, Why Your Money is Worthless. The Truth About Printing and Inflation. Now, I know the title is a bit dramatic.
It is a little dramatic.
But it definitely grabs your attention.
It does, and it highlights a concern that a lot of people share. The feeling that their money just doesn't go as far as it used to.
Exactly. So, to help us unpack this complex issue and explore strategies to protect our wealth, we've got a resident economic expert who can break down even the most intimidating financial concepts into understandable terms.
I'll do my best.
I have no doubt. All right. Let's start by understanding how we even got to a system where a piece of paper or digital entry represents value. I mean, it wasn't always this way. Think back way, way back, before credit cards, before dollar bills, even before coins.
We're talking the era of bartering.
Bartering.
Yeah. Imagine trying to trade a cow for a loaf of bread.
Right.
Talk about an inconvenient currency.
I could just picture myself hauling a cow to the grocery store like, excuse me, do you take payment in livestock? It wouldn't exactly be efficient.
No.
But it makes you appreciate the evolution of money.
Absolutely. From bartering with goods, we transitioned to using commodities like gold and silver as currency. These held inherent value due to their scarcity and practical uses.
So that intrinsic value was key. It wasn't just some random object that we were assigning worth to. But then eventually, we moved to paper money. Was that still tied to something tangible, like gold?
Yes. Initially, paper money was backed by the gold standard, meaning you could theoretically exchange your paper money for its equivalent value in gold. This system ensured that governments couldn't just print money recklessly without the gold reserves to back it up.
So it sounds like a more transparent and stable system.
Yeah, it had its advantages for sure. The gold standard promoted price stability and limited the potential for inflation. Governments couldn't simply print their way out of economic troubles.
So what happened? When and why did we abandon this gold standard?
Well, our source points to a pivotal moment in 1971 when President Nixon took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard. This marked a significant shift to a fiat currency system.
Fiat currency. It sounds kind of like something out of Star Wars.
Perhaps. But in essence, a fiat currency derives its value from government decree, not from any underlying asset like gold. Essentially, the government declares it to be legal tender, and we, the people, trust that it holds value.
So it's all based on trust and confidence in the government. But our source seems to suggest that this system is inherently flawed and that it leads to inflation.
Well, there are certainly concerns about the potential for governments to, abuse the power to print money without any tangible backing.
Right. If you can just print more money whenever you want, it just seems like it would inevitably lead to inflation. So let's talk about inflation. What exactly is it, and how does it affect us in our daily lives?
Okay. Think of it this way. Imagine you own a percentage of all the money in circulation. Let's say 1% of all the money out there. That gives you a certain purchasing power.
Okay. I'm following.
Yeah.
I have my 1% slice of the money pie.
Exactly. Now, imagine the government decides to print more money. Suddenly, that money pie gets bigger, but your slice, your 1%, stays the same size. It now represents a smaller portion of the overall pie, even though you haven't spent any of your money.
Ah, I see. So even though I haven't technically lost any money, my purchasing power has decreased. My 1% can buy less stuff because there's more money floating around chasing the same amount of goods and services.
Precisely.
Okay.
That's the sneaky nature of inflation. It's a hidden tax that erodes the value of your savings without you even realizing it's happening.
And this is all tied to the government's ability to just print more money whenever they feel like it.
Essentially, yes. When the money supply increases faster than the growth of goods and services in an economy, the value of each unit of currency declines. Classic case of supply and demand. More money chasing the same amount of goods pushes prices up.
Okay, starting to connect the dots here.
Yeah.
But I've heard people say that a little bit of inflation is normal and even healthy for a growing economy. Is there any truth to that?
There's some truth to that. A small, controlled level of inflation can actually stimulate economic activity. It encourages people to spend rather than hoard their money, knowing that it might lose value over time. But the key word here is controlled.
So what happens when inflation gets out of control?
Mm.
Our source paints a rather alarming picture, using some pretty dramatic historical examples.
Right. History is filled with cautionary tales of hyperinflation, where prices spiral out of control at an alarming rate.
Well, we're not talking about a gentle rise in the price of milk. We're talking about scenarios where money becomes practically worthless.
Exactly. Imagine needing a wheelbarrow full of cash just to buy a loaf of bread.
A wheelbarrow, that's insane.
That was the reality in Weimar Germany in the 1920s. The government, trying to pay off war debts, printed so much money that the currency became virtually worthless. People were literally using banknotes as wallpaper because it was cheaper than buying actual wallpaper.
Wow, that's a powerful image. It really puts things into perspective. Our source also mentions Zimbabwe in 2008 as another example of hyperinflation.
Another tragic case, unfortunately. Hyperinflation reached such extreme levels that a $1 trillion Zimbabwean note was barely enough to buy a cup of coffee.
$1 trillion for a cup of coffee. I can't even wrap my head around that. It makes you wonder if those trillion-dollar bills became more valuable as collector's items.
Perhaps. But the human cost of such economic collapse is immeasurable. People lose their savings, their livelihoods, their ability to provide for their families. It's a devastating situation.
Absolutely. And Venezuela is another more recent example where hyperinflation has wreaked havoc on the economy and people's lives. So if governments hold the power to the printing press and excessive printing leads to inflation, what can we, the average people, do to protect ourselves? We don't exactly have control over monetary policy, do we?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Fortunately, there are strategies to mitigate the effects of inflation and safeguard your wealth.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are some of these strategies? What can we do to fight back against this silent thief?
The key is to think beyond cash. Remember, cash is constantly losing value, especially in an inflationary environment.
So where do we put our money if not in a savings account?
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're not going to suggest stuffing it under the mattress.
Definitely not. We'll explore some smart and strategic ways to put your money to work in part 2, so stay tuned.
Welcome back, everyone. Now, before the break, we were talking about how holding on to cash during times of inflation can actually make you poorer.
Yeah, that was a bit of a mind-blowing realization. But if cash is losing value, where should we be putting our money instead?
Well, the classic strategy is to invest in real assets, things that have intrinsic value and tend to hold up well against inflation.
So like tangible stuff, not just numbers on a screen.
Exactly. Think gold and silver. They've been valued for centuries, and people often turn to them when they're worried about economic instability.
Gold, the classic safe haven. Makes sense. But what about something a little more modern? Well, real estate is another popular option. Land and property tend to appreciate in value over time, acting as a hedge against inflation. Plus, you get the added benefit of having a physical asset that you can use or rent out.
Okay, so the age-old advice of location, location, location still rings true.
Absolutely. Choosing the right property in a desirable area is key. Of course, real estate requires a significant upfront investment, so it's not for everyone, but it can be a powerful wealth-building tool.
Right. Not all of us are ready to become real estate moguls just yet. What about something a bit more accessible, maybe for someone just starting out with investing?
Well, there's always the stock market. While it can be volatile in the short term, historically, over the long run, stocks have outpaced inflation.
So even though the market goes up and down, investing in companies can be a good way to grow your money faster than inflation can shrink it.
Precisely. You're essentially buying a small ownership stake in a company and betting on its future success. Of course, it's essential to diversify your investments. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, as the saying goes.
Diversify. Got it. Spread the risk. So stocks, real estate, precious metals, any other inflation-busting assets we should know about? I feel like this is where Bitcoin enters the chat.
You read my mind. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are definitely gaining traction as potential hedges against inflation.
Okay, help me understand this.
Yeah.
Why are cryptocurrencies, which seem so digital and intangible, considered a good hedge against inflation?
It all comes down to supply and demand. Unlike fiat currencies, which governments can print at will, Bitcoin has a fixed supply capped at 21 million coins. No one can just create more Bitcoin out of thin air.
So no central bank going on a printing spree and devaluing my Bitcoin. Interesting.
Exactly. This limited supply, combined with growing demand, has led some to believe that Bitcoin could act as a store of value similar to gold. However, it's crucial to acknowledge that the cryptocurrency market is still relatively new and volatile.
It's definitely a roller coaster ride. So proceed with caution, do your research, and maybe don't invest your life savings in crypto just yet.
Sound advice. Now, let's shift gears a bit and talk about another powerful strategy for combating inflation: generating passive income.
Passive income. It sounds so effortless and relaxing. Like money just magically appearing in your account while you're sipping a cocktail on a beach.
Haha. Well, it's not quite that easy. But the concept is to create streams of income that require minimal ongoing effort.
Okay, so make your money work for you, rather than just sitting in a bank account, slowly losing value to inflation. But how do we actually create this passive income? Give me some examples.
There are a number of options depending on your skills, interests, and resources. One popular approach is investing in dividend-paying stocks.
Ah, dividends. I've heard of those.
Right.
Companies basically share their profits with their shareholders, right?
Exactly. It's like getting a little bonus payment just for owning the stock. And these dividend payments can help offset the effects of inflation.
So it's like a little inflation fighting bonus. I like it. What other passive income streams can we tap into?
Well, if you have some capital to invest, rental properties can be a great option. You collect rent from tenants each month, and that income can help you keep pace with inflation.
So being a landlord, it's definitely not for everyone, but it can be a good way to build wealth over time. I'm sensing a theme here. A lot of these strategies involve investing. But what if I'm not comfortable putting my money at risk in the stock market or buying property? Are there any other ways to fight back against inflation?
There are. Remember, we talked about the power of knowledge and skills? Well, you can leverage those to generate income and even outpace inflation.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Think about your talents and expertise. Can you create and sell online classes, offer consulting services, write an ebook? The internet has opened up so many possibilities for entrepreneurs.
So basically, monetize your knowledge and turn your skills into a source of income.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that you can often do this alongside your regular job, gradually building a side hustle that can potentially grow into something bigger.
I love that. It's empowering to know that we have options, even in the face of economic challenges. This is all incredibly helpful. But I'm starting to realize that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. It's about finding the right strategies that fit our individual circumstances, risk tolerance, and financial goals.
Absolutely. And that's where a bit of self-reflection and planning comes in. Before you jump into any investment or money-making venture, it's crucial to assess your current financial situation and define your goals.
So take a step back and look at the big picture before diving into the details. Makes sense. But sometimes it's hard to know where to even begin. What are some practical first steps we can take to get our finances in order and start building that inflation-proof foundation?
Well, first and foremost, take a look at your income and expenses. Where's your money coming from and where is it going?
Okay, so track your spending, create a budget, the basics. I can do that.
Exactly. Once you have a clear picture of your cash flow, you can identify areas where you might be able to cut back and free up more money for saving and investing.
Ah, the dreaded B-word budgeting. But you're right, it's essential if you want to take control of your finances.
Absolutely. It's not about depriving yourself, but rather about making conscious choices that align with your financial goals.
So maybe skip that daily latte and invest that money instead. Small changes can add up over time, right?
Precisely. Even small amounts invested consistently can grow significantly thanks to the power of compounding.
Compounding. It's like magic. Interest, earning interest, and those gains building upon each other over time.
Exactly. It's like a snowball effect. The earlier you start investing, the more time your money has to compound and grow.
Okay, so we've got our budget in place, we're diligently tracking our spending, and we're starting to invest, even if it's just small amounts. What other crucial steps should we consider on our financial roadmap?
One word: diversification. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Spread your investments across different asset classes: stocks, bonds, real estate, precious metals, even cryptocurrencies if you're so inclined.
Diversify, diversify, diversify. I'm getting the message. It's about spreading the risk and not relying on any single investment to make or break your financial future.
Precisely. And remember, it's crucial to do your research and understand the risks and potential rewards associated with each investment.
Right. No blind leaps of faith. Knowledge is power when it comes to investing. So we've talked about tangible assets like gold and real estate, we've touched upon the stock market, and even the world of cryptocurrencies. But what about those intangible assets? The ones we carry within ourselves?
Ah, you're talking about our skills, knowledge, and experiences. Those are invaluable assets as well.
Exactly. Earlier, we discussed the idea of monetizing our skills and creating passive income streams. I think this is a concept worth exploring further.
I agree. In today's digital age, there are so many opportunities to leverage your talents and generate income.
It's empowering to know that we have the potential to create our own financial security, even if it's outside the traditional 9-to-5 job.
Absolutely. The gig economy is booming, and online platforms make it easier than ever to connect with potential clients or customers.
So whether it's freelancing, consulting, teaching online courses, writing ebooks, or even starting a YouTube channel, there's a path for everyone.
Exactly. It's about identifying your strengths, finding your niche, and building a personal brand that resonates with others.
It strikes me that combating inflation is not just about financial strategies. It's also about mindset.
That's a great point. It's about adopting a proactive, growth-oriented approach to your finances and your life.
It's about embracing lifelong learning, continuously developing new skills, and adapting to the ever-changing economic landscape.
Precisely. And it's about cultivating a sense of financial literacy and empowerment. The more you understand about money, investing, and the forces that shape the economy, the better equipped you'll be to navigate the challenges and seize the opportunities that come your way.
So true. Knowledge really is power, especially when it comes to our financial well-being.
Absolutely. And remember, the journey to financial security is not a sprint, it's a marathon. There will be ups and downs along the way, but the key is to stay informed, stay focused, and never stop learning and growing.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into the world of inflation. We've covered a lot of ground, from the origins of money to the complexities of the fiat currency system, from tangible assets to intangible skills, from budgeting to investing.
And hopefully, we've provided our listeners with a framework for understanding inflation, mitigating its effects, and building a more secure financial future.
Absolutely. Remember, dear listeners, knowledge is your most valuable asset. Keep learning, keep exploring, and never underestimate your ability to shape your own financial destiny.
We're here to support you on that journey.
And on that note, it's time to wrap up this deep dive. A huge thank you to our incredible expert for sharing their expertise and insights with us today.
It was a pleasure to be here.
And to our amazing listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. We appreciate your curiosity, your engagement, and your willingness to dive deep with us.
We couldn't do it without you.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. We love hearing your feedback and suggestions for future deep dives. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone who might benefit from this information.
Let's spread the knowledge and empower everyone to take control of their financial well-being.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep diving deep.